Well, there have been several developments in the past 48 hours from Ukraine, including the latest round of diplomatic talks happening right now in Russia. Joining us now with an update live is CNN's Salma Abdelaziz, who is live from Lviv this morning. Salma, thank you so much for joining us. I'll start off with what is happening in Lviv, a lot of major developments in that city as well. Can you tell us about some of the attacks that have been targeting that city, which had been really a place for a refuge for some people who are trying to escape?
Absolutely. Over the course of the last several days, what we've seen is that this Russian offensive is expanding, it's widening, it's intensifying. It is no longer just in the east of the country. It has now stretched all the way up to NATO's doorstep. Yesterday, in the early hours of the morning, the Yavrov military base, that's a base that's just about 10 miles from the Polish border, it was struck by Russian warplanes firing 30 cruise missiles. 34 people were killed inside that base, another 130 wounded. After the attack, my team and I went to that base to try to understand more. We were on the perimeter, the outskirts, and you have to understand this is a really crucial point for the Ukrainian army because it's on that base that, again, right up on the NATO doorstep, it is on that base that Ukrainian forces meet with NATO allies. They get training from U.S. troops. They get the education, the support, the weapons that they need. That's why you hear President Zelensky yet again calling for a no-fly zone, because this presents a huge logistical challenge for this country. How do they continue to conduct this war, get the defense support that they need from their allies if they're being hit from the skies? And of course, it's terrifying for civilians. We saw the villages around that base. These are places where families live. Ordinary children play. They spent the night in bomb shelters. Terrified for their lives. And here in Lviv, this has been the safe haven, right? This has been the place that refugees come to flee the violence, the halfway point before they get out of Ukraine. But over the last few nights, again, we've been hearing air raid sirens in the middle of the night. It just feels like this war is inching ever closer.
Now, NATO has said in response to the request for a no-fly zone that this could just escalate the war if that indeed was something that was enacted. But at the same time, with these attacks now getting closer and closer to NATO's doorstep, as you said, right at the Polish border, what are the implications there? Is there a sense that this could go beyond that border into Polish territory?
Well, if you ask President Zelensky, that's exactly what he believes will happen. He says today it's Ukraine, tomorrow it's NATO. They're right up there, just a few miles away, again, from the Polish border. That attack, one of the deadliest attacks that's taken place since this war started on Sunday. So President Zelensky says this is no longer just a threat for Ukraine. This is a threat for NATO itself. President Biden has made very clear that a no-fly zone is simply not on the table. He says it would start World War III, but it leaves the very obvious question here. How do you get logistically the support you need, the Ukrainian army that is, if they are being struck from the skies? And it comes after the U.S. had promised $200 million in immediate defense assistance. But the Russian government says if it sees any weapons shipments, if it sees any weapons convoys coming into Ukraine, it will consider those legitimate targets.
And we know that there's a fourth round of negotiations, Salma, that's happening right now as we speak. Is there a sense that there could be a significant progress made, especially when Ukraine has said that they are not going to be budging and not going to be meeting any Russian ultimatums?
Yes, so the fourth round of talks is set to begin shortly now. It's going to be via video link, so online, not face-to-face. This is 19 days into this conflict now. From the Ukrainian side, they have a clear demand. They say the guns must fall silent. Russia must abide by a ceasefire before any talks can be taken seriously, because every single day counts. And negotiations so far have stalled. We had talks in Turkey last week. We had a flurry of activity over the weekend. The French president and the German chancellor on the phone with President Putin. They say that President Putin seems steadfast, insistent on achieving his goals. But what are those goals? This is an invasion that's shocked the world, not just because it happened, but because of the scope and scale. It's not just about the eastern regions. Remember, this is, as we said, a conflict that's really stretched from border to border all across Ukraine. President Zelensky has said all of Ukraine is a front line. So it really comes down to what will happen today in terms of, does the Russian delegation offer any concessions? Do they make clear what their demands are? And what is President Zelensky willing to offer, willing to give up to end this bloodletting? For Ukraine's part, their olive branch is that they say they will remain a neutral nation. That means not joining NATO, although that was not on the table anyways. But again, it all comes down to one man, President Putin. What does he want? How does it end?
All right, we'll wait for developments and watch for those. Thank you so much, Salma Abdelaziz, live from Lviv. Appreciate that.